Hi, my name is Ashley, and today my speech is going to be on the corruption of the system, more specifically the foster system. Now, by show of hands, how many of you guys know that in 427,444 children were placed in foster care just in 2015 alone? No one. So out of those children, 336 of them died while in the hands of foster parents in the homes that they were at. So that's about 1 in every 3 kids were in the hands of the foster parents, and later on they were killed, unfortunately. So according to the Adoption and Foster Care Analysis and Reporting System, 336 of those children died while in the hands of the system. So which means 75% of the children that are removed from their homes are not actually removed due to abuse or negligence or anything that is most reported. They were actually falsely neglected into being taken out of their homes due to poverty. So that means 75% of the cases are actually not due to abuse of the children, which means they're falsely taken out. So today I want to inform you on how the corruption of the system affects the children in foster care. So by the end of my speech, you will be able to understand how the choices of the foster care system reflects upon the children and how it determines where their lives will go. So the 3 main points I would talk about is going to be how the homes that are taken from and put into are actually worse than the ones that they were taken from. Also, how they are failing children because of the focus on how much they're trying to extract a profit from these children going into the foster care system. And then last, the trauma that these children have to endure because of them being taken out and put into foster care. So first I'm talking about the foster homes that they were put in. They are actually worse than the ones that they were taken from. The National Coalition for Child Protection Reform states those in the system, out of every 100 children, 3 are actually victims of abuse, which is from the most minor to the most severe. 2 of them are actually sexual abuse, and then the rest of them are actually false allegations or cases in which the family's poverty has been confused with neglect. Logan Marr was a beautiful 5-year-old little girl, and she had the rest of her life ahead of her. Her mother, once again, was falsely accused of violation, and she was taken from her home. So the mom that she was taken into, her foster parent, she had this life ahead of her, and that was unfortunately until she was later found dead in her foster care mother's basement. One day, her foster mother ended up tying her to a high chair for a timeout and had bounded her with duct tape, and she later suffocated due to asphyxiation, and the little girl had unfortunately died. So her foster mother obviously was accused of murdering her. So her mother never once abused her, actually. Her actual mother never once abused her. Her mother, actually, so Logan's grandmother, had falsely accused Logan's mother that she could not properly take care of Logan. So she reported her, and they ended up taking the child away from her. But unfortunately, this was all due in result because Logan wanted to explain, she wanted to take over how to raise Logan. And because she didn't get that, she reported her daughter, and in return, Logan ended up getting taken. So this is all in a result that her grandmother didn't get the result that she wanted in having Logan's, rights and how she lived her life. The executive director of the National Coalition for Child Protective Reform says the child welfare system failed Logan Marr in every way possible. During an MIT research study in 2007 and 2008, Joseph Doyle found that the data that children in foster care are way worse than children left in the actual troubled homes that they were taken from. 34% of children whose goal was adoption, which means that they were pretty close to actually being adopted, 34% of those are neglected, and they were found victims of abuse and other harmful conditions. 15% of them who just entered the foster care home were actually found victims, same thing, of neglection, abuse, and other harmful conditions in just the first year that they were placed into foster care. So now that I told you about the conditions that can be worse that they were placed in the homes, let's talk about how children are being used as a profit. The system is failing children because of the focus on extracting a profit from them. There is a 36-state for-profit foster care organization. It's actually known as the Mentor Network. There were multiple deaths of healthy kids which were taken from foster homes and placed into a part of this organization. So the children that placed and were part of this organization were actually later on killed in their homes. Caseworkers from the company accused them of failing children because of its focus on extracting a profit. They did this by cutting corners on expensive services, forcing social workers to carry extremely high caseloads. So the state mandates that social workers can juggle no more than 25 active cases per worker. So Lori Jones, as an example, is a social worker in Jefferson County. She stands at 61 cases alone, just by herself. The Child Fatality and Near Fatality Review panel found that high workloads were a consistent theme in the cases of child deaths and serious injuries that it reviewed. Democracy Chronicle states that foster care in America is an abusive multi-billion-dollar for-profit failure. 671,000 children are taken each year from their families, and 428,000 of those have been in-state ordered care. So which means that the taxpayers' dollars are going straight to the state. The government sends between $4 to $12 billion to the states for taking children and breaking up these families. So now that I've told you on how children are being used as a profit, let's talk about the emotional abuse that these children have to endure in the time that they are in the foster care system. So we failed 23,439 children alone and legally emancipated them from care. Conservative studies found that 1 in 5 will become homeless at 18. At 24, only half of them will be employed, and 71% of the women will be pregnant by 21. 1 in 4 will have experienced post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that it is double the rate of veterans' post-traumatic stress disorder. When those children are aged out of 18, they're actually put out into the world without any housing, any financial assistance, or any emotional costs. An example is a kid named Adrian. Now he was 27 years old, but at first he was placed in foster care at age 6 because of his mother's drug and alcohol abuse. He was removed from home to home until he was eventually kicked out at 18 because he was too old for the system. So when he was finally out, he tried to put himself through college. He worked 60-hour work weeks. He tried to do everything he can to survive in the world. But being a foster kid and he had no one to go to, no one to turn to, he had no help from anyone. His grades had slipped. He was eventually kicked out of college, and he struggled with depression after that. And this is just one of the many examples of things that happen to these children because they have nowhere to turn to, they don't have any help, and they don't have anyone there for them when they need them the most, like all of us, unfortunate people do. According to studies by Christopher Weidman, children in foster care are 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and depression. Also, bipolar disorder is another one because of that. They feel a sense of abandonment moving from home to home. One child alone can experience up to 18 homes in a 3-year time period. So now that I've told you about the emotional abuse that these children do have to endure, I will move on to my conclusion. We are letting children down in this system, and it's not